So, you want to be a dungeon master.
So you want to be a dungeon master.
So you want to be a dungeon.
So you want to be a dungeon master.
So, you want to be a dungeon master.
That's great. We're here to help. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Justin. This week, we're walking a slackline 15 feet above the ground without a net. Because today is all about balance. Taylor and I are going to go back to back creating a bunch of encounters for various levels, and along the way we're going to be giving tips and tricks any dungeon master could use. Remember, balance can mean more than just combat or numbers or mechanics, but this episode is probably going to lean in that direction. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get right into it. But first, what do you do if you get the balance wrong for a combat? What's this? You don't realize until you're already elbow deep in that same combat that's unbalanced? Whatever can you do?
I mean, it depends on which way you're talking about balance. Are you talking the enemies are too strong or the players are too strong? Because there's definitely
either way.
Two different ways. Okay, so the easiest thing to do in the middle of combat is tweak the HP of your monsters. That's the really simplest, easiest thing that you can do when you get right into the thick of it. Have them have a little bit more HP.
Yeah.
You could, in a world, tweak the AC, but if the players have already kind of figured out what the AC is, and then they find out that it's more or less, you've either got to come up with a way to explain it in the story, or you're going to have very grumpy players.
Yeah, AC is a little bit trickier. It's easy when no one's hit the AC or they haven't figured it out, and you can kind of just instantly be like, "Oof, this AC is way too high," or something along those lines. But for the most part, HP is definitely the first go-to because it is so easy to just add hit points or remove hit points or something like that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll also I'll alter damage slightly if I think that the monsters are hitting too hard, and the easiest way is just to remove the modifiers. So if it's every time the giant hits with their club, it's 3d8 plus 8. I just don't do the 8 part. Roll 3d8, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that usually seems to help a little bit. You could also maybe halfway through the combat, you're I don't even need all 3 of these legendary resistances. There's other little things you can kind of get rid of. You can even just go so far as, the Lich is too powerful. Don't cast the most powerful spells that Lich has. Keep Meteor Swarm for next time. or Power Word Kill or whatever Liches have. But yeah. And then if for some reason you wanted the combat, because sometimes the combat, it's too weak. The monsters are too weak. The players are rolling over them. Take note of the room first. Are the players having fun being absolute badasses and thwarting these monsters, stomping down on them? Then maybe you just chill. You just let it be. But I can understand, trust me, as somebody who sometimes builds up these encounters in my head and is this is going to be so close and so well balanced, and then it's not, and you're I feel some type of way. But as long as the players are having fun, that should be the most important thing. But if you, the DM, are also not having fun, then may I suggest reinforcements, backup.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Have them call for help. Have them have some more dudes pop up. Because even in an encounter builder or something like that, and if you're reading through the Dungeon Master's Guide on encounters and stuff like that, adding more enemies inherently changes the combat in that it's the action economy swings back into your favor as a dungeon master.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sometimes fighting 2 powerful monsters is just inherently different than fighting 5 slightly lower level monsters. Of course, there are other things to take into account. Numbers are huge because, like Taylor said, action economy is going to be affected greatly. But I've brought this example up a million times, but if you're fighting a high-level party, it doesn't matter how many CR1 monsters you throw at them. If they can't hit with a +3 to attack, then it doesn't matter. The action economy actually doesn't matter at that point. So, that does make a difference. But if all of those CR1 monsters are doing like saving throw stuff that like you're going to take half damage anyway, now you're talking.
Right.
Because 20 weird little beasts that are spraying poison gas and it's like chipping away, that will work.
All that adds up. Yeah.
Not to mention now the party has to deal with that. Now, of course, you can blast a ton of them out with like an AoE spell. But if you, like the monk in the group is kind of screwed. The monk has to take the time to hit each individual little minion. Unless it's like a specific type of monk, of course. But there's a lot of things you can do. It takes practice,
Yeah.
You get more comfortable with it as you go. And then once you get more comfortable with that side of things, of changing things on the fly, then the whole setting up of an encounter becomes a lot chiller because you're just like, whatever, I'll figure it out. You know what I mean? Like nowadays when I'm like balancing encounters, I don't put as much, it doesn't matter as much because I'm like, and I usually lean in the direction of overpowered because I think it's easier in the middle of combat to like remove hit points or to to describe the AC going down even because you broke through their armor. And so now instead of an 18, it's a 16 or something,
Right.
But it's going to change all the time, and it's going to be varying levels of difficulty depending on how powerful your party is and how high level they are and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
and there's definitely not a one size fits all. Oh crap! I've made an unbalanced encounter fix. It's going to be different from encounter to encounter, not even table to table. It's going to be encounter to encounter. You're going to have to assess it in the middle of the fight.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many variables involved, down to the like specific team composition. How many healing potions do they have? What magic items are they working with?
Right.
What are the ability to heal or revivify? Do they have ranged options or are they only melee? Like there's so many things to consider. What's the environment like? Do they have the ability to push people off of maps because of repelling blast? Like that changes things.
Right.
There's so many things. Or like even having the party be at full health and full resources versus just having finished a combat. So many things. How strategic the players are. Like some of it is not even the PCs, it's the players. Like some players are like, whatever, I go towards the biggest monster, I'm fucking hitting him. Oh, I rolled bad. Okay, whatever. And then other people are like so strategic and like, you know what I mean? Like setting up the perfect flanks and like doing all crazy combos. Some of that will change how you balance an encounter. It's like how experienced your players are.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get into this. So like what we're talking about balance today. What's the plan?
Hey gang, we wanted to talk to you about something pretty important real quick. See, we have some really cool ideas for the future, but we need your help. You can do that by supporting us through our Patreon. At the lowest tier, you get early access to podcast episodes, access to episodes of Action Surge, our post-session table talk show, and entry into a private channel on our Discord server. At the next tier, you can get access to Bonus Action, our bonus content podcast where we talk about a huge variety of D&D and TTRPG related things, like multi-class mystery mashup, where we get 2 random classes and have to build a character, or Monster Matchmaker, where we go over our favorite monsters at each CR level, or recaps of our home campaign, plus so much more. Joining the Patreon helps us continue to grow and put out content that gets better and better as we learn, improve, and try new things. So, check out the link in the description to join the gang today.
The plan is to have both of us create encounters. So each of us will be creating an encounter for 3 different levels. So the idea is like, let's pretend like we're the DMs for a table of 4 players. So a party, adventuring party of 4.
Standard party size, yeah.
And we'll just say that they're kind of like average across the board. Average stats, like no one's rocking like 20s and two or 3 different stats. Like everyone's kind of average. They're not bad. They're just average. There's no weak characters, but they're also no like fully min-maxed power players.
Right.
And the same is true for like magic items, team composition. There's no glaring flaws, but there's also no like other side of the spectrum. No one's got an Unholy Avenger.
The ultimate wombo combo situation. Yeah.
Yeah, everything is kind of just standard across the board.
Okay.
So then, obviously, if we were, balancing for a party that was much stronger, we would level things up, maybe add an extra monster, whatever it may be. If it was much weaker, these are brand new players, they have no idea what they're doing, level things down, remove a monster, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But we're going to try and hit right in that center piece, that the top of the bell curve, so to speak. And we're doing that at level 3, level 8, and level 13. 3 kind of just random. Let's be honest, I picked random numbers. Level 3 is easy because everyone's going to have a subclass if you're using 2014 and by that point, or 2024. Level 8, kind of right in that mid-level area, even though it's probably more likely you're going to get more one-shots and short campaigns around the level 5 and 6 area, but I just decided to do 5-level increments for no reason whatsoever other than that's nice and easy.
Fair enough.
And then level 13, that mid to high level gameplay, but not so high that they're straight up gods, but we're getting there.
Yeah, we're definitely on the pathway here at level 13. That's
if you're listening to this and you're a DM or you want to be a DM, or maybe you're a player and you're at a table where the combat balance is wonky, feel free to send us an email, or you could reach out to us via DMs on any of the social media platforms that we're on, at Soyouwannabeadm, our email, soyouwannabeadm@gmail.com. Send us what your party is like, what level you guys are at, what classes and subclasses are in the group, and we'll make a couple encounters for you and give you our take on how it would break down. But let's get into this. Taylor, would you like to roll a D20? See who goes first.
Sure, let's do it. Got a 6.
13. Looks like I'm going first. So, level 3, pretty low level, low AC for everybody except for like clerics and paladins and stuff. Not a ton of spell slots, pretty low level, but everyone's at least got a subclass. So what I've come up with is the party approaches a rickety old boardwalk built over a swamp of cloudy black water, thick layers of green algae growing on top. The hum of insects, frogs, and birds in the area is interrupted by a rhythmic drumming beat as the party is surrounded by a hunting party of the vinegar vagrants. This cult is obsessed with all things acid. Their drumming summons a black dragon wormling out of the swampy water because black dragon wormlings, CR2, are amphibious. They can breathe air and water. They have a swim speed of 30 feet, a fly speed of 60 feet, and a swim speed of 30 feet. Perfect for this type of environment. And a hidden little secret. You could, of course, have the party like make nature checks or something to find out that there's this is prime example for, or prime environment for a black dragon or something. Maybe they see bubbles in the water. There's like all different ways you could set this up as opposed to it being a surprise. But so this black dragon is summoned by the dragon by the cult, by the drumming. There are 4 cultists. Cultists are CR 1/8, very, very low, but there are 4 of them. They only have 9 hit points, so like there's very much a chance that one really good AoE spell or like even like a single attack could bring down a cultist. You know, if you roll good on damage, 9 hit points. And they're only rocking like a scimitar. They have advantage on being charmed or frightened. That's kind of it. Like they have a AC of 12. They're just cultists. Pretty simple. And if that wasn't enough, we also have 2 mud mephits who are traveling with the cultists, sort of little companions. They have a fly speed of 20 feet, a swim speed of 20 feet, and a 20-foot walk speed. They have a mud breath ability that could potentially restrain people for a small amount of time, but it's just a DC 11 dex save, nice and low. They also have a death burst, when they hit 0 hit points that can do the same thing as their mud breath. So, and they have 27 hit points because they are a CR 1/4. So we're rocking 7 monsters, 4 cultists, 2 mud mephits, and 1 black dragon wormling. This would be considered by most calculator standpoint it would be considered a deadly encounter. It is pretty hefty. That's why I think it is a good idea to give the party the opportunity to see this stuff coming. The way I wrote it makes it seem like a surprise, which you could do it that way. But yeah, and then it's really interesting. So the way that you can flavor this also that will change how this fight goes in terms of it being deadly or like just a difficult fight is, does the black dragon work alongside the cultists?
Right.
Or are you kind of caught in the middle of something? You know, like maybe the cultists are able to charm this black dragon and the drumming works and it's effective and the black dragon wormling is now just another minion. Or maybe it doesn't work and that creates this black dragon wormling attacking anybody and everybody who's nearby. And that would change things, obviously.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think letting the party come and interrupt the ritual so that the black dragon just becomes kind of an agent of chaos in the battle rather than fighting, like actively just fighting against the party.
For sure.
Be a way to kind of tweak that. And I've, in my encounter, we'll kind of go into that type of like a time-based thing because that's more what my encounter is based around.
Amazing. And then what I'll say for these different monsters and stuff like that works out really well too is you can tweak things if you're okay with like fudging dice or like talking to your table and letting them know that there's going to be times where you might fudge dice rolls and stuff. Things like a black dragon wormling has a acid breath. It's a 15-foot line, 5 feet wide. So it's hitting 3 squares and they make a DC 11 dex save or they take on average 22 points of acid damage. That could kill a level 3. Maybe not kill, but like, you know what I mean? Drop to 0 a level 3 character pretty easily in some regards. And it obviously would also destroy cultists. It also could potentially, if you roll higher, you could take out the mud mephits. So whether or not the wormling's on their side is a huge deal, but it also, this acid breath ability recharges on a 5 or 6. Now, how's the party doing? Are they struggling? Maybe you just never roll a 5 or 6 again in the fight. You just use it once, show the power, and then that's it. It just never recharges. Is the party getting a little too cocky? Oh, what's this? You rolled a 5. Oh my god, amazing. It recharges. Do another breath attack.
Yep. Breath attacks back, baby.
So a lot of interesting things. And we haven't even gotten into like all the potential environmental things you could do in a swamp.
Yeah.
Because again, the way I described it was you're on this rickety old boardwalk. I mean, what's to say the dragon doesn't destroy parts of the boardwalk and now you're suffering. You have to like get half movement because you have to swim through swamp water.
Right.
So that could change things big time too. So there's just so many different factors with this type of fight. I think it's so fun. And I just love the idea that black dragons are amphibious. And it's just a very fun little like monster detail to include in those types of environments. So that's what I got for level 3. Yeah, it was really like nice. I wanted to specifically do a bunch of monsters, which is why the cultists are so like 1/8 for CR is like, other than 0 is as low as it can freaking get. Like, I know there's 4 of them. That's action economy. That's 4 attacks. That's just as many attacks as the party has, right? Level 3, no one has multi-attack unless you have the bonus action option to do stuff. But like, but they only have 9 hit points. So it really all balances out. So that's what I was thinking.
Nice.
Let's hear yours.
Yeah, for mine, it's funny, we were talking about this right before we started, but like we both picked like cult situations for our first encounter. But it's just kind of when I'm doing an encounter or something like that, like doing a building one, what I like to do is pick like some kind of a sheet, whether it be D&D Beyond or some kind of list of all the monsters. I'll pick a environment that I want to go with. In this case, I went with coastal, and then find stat blocks in that environment that I like, and then try to make it all work together as an encounter. So for this one, we've got a cult that's trying to summon the Kraken somewhere in in this ocean somewhere. There's an island where there's a cult trying to summon a dragon. Or not a dragon, the Kraken. You track him down to this island. The island is like one side has a really high cliff, and then there's a path that leads to the shore, and you can kind of hear the sounds of the ritual going on at the top of the hill. Party rushes up the hill. There's a set of ruins and stuff. You see an altar where there is a priest that's doing their whole summoning ritual thing. And then there's also two, I don't remember, I can't ever say this word right. I don't know, I even know how to start pronouncing it, but Soyouwannabeadm.
Oh, I always say Soyouwannabeadm.
Soyouwannabeadm, yeah.
I put the little
sure
on it like a cool whip, but that's just
okay.
me.
I gotcha. Yeah. So anyway, there's two of them that are acting as guards. If you are familiar with World of Warcraft, they are very similar to the Murloc folk. They're like kind of half fish people with, but they're humanoid. They have little spears and stuff that they've made, but they're also got like shark face. They got some pretty cool abilities. They have Blood Frenzy, where if it's trying to do a melee attack on anything that has less than full hit points, it's got advantage. So after the first couple of rounds of combat, you're hopefully working with advantage for most of the fight with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
They do have multi-attack. You got two melee attacks. It does a bite, and then it does either claws or a spear. The spear can be thrown. Everything's got a +3 to hit. Medium damage, 1d8 +1. Nothing crazy on the damage side of things, but having multi-attack, there's two of them, and they're not even the only things in the fight. They get kind of formidable in low-level stuff. 22 hit points. It's only a CR half, though, so they're not crazy.
Right.
But they're, it's their bodies that are in the fight that are going to be hitting a lot once this Blood Frenzy thing kicks in. So now you've got also a Kraken priest in the fight that is in the middle of a ritual when they get up to the top of the hill. Now, this is a CR 5, 75 hit points. It's got multi-attack as well. It does Thunderous Touch or Thunderbolt, or it has two abilities. Both of them are rocking crazy damages, 5d10 on the melee attack, 4d10, and getting knocked prone on the ranged attack. It does have some spell casting, nothing super crazy. It does have command. It's got darkness, control water, water walk, and then also Everard's Black Tentacles, which I think is another restraining spell. And then it also has a Voice of the Kraken that it can use once per short rest. And that is a DC 14 Wisdom save, or be frightened for a minute of the priest. So very formidable. Very formidable. This is what makes it, this plus the two Soyouwannabeadm things make it a deadly encounter, just in general. And the way that I kind of was thinking this encounter would go is that at the beginning of the fight, the priest is not involved. He's in the middle of doing this ritual, and the party can have anywhere from maybe 3 to 5 turns to interrupt the ritual. If they do it, cool. If they don't, the ritual goes off. The Kraken is now going to be in the ocean causing havoc, and they still have to fight this priest. So regardless, it's going to stay out of combat for the first few rounds until it gets interrupted. And you can either let your players know that, not let them know that. But that's kind of introducing this time element to it, where it might be easier to deal with the guards first,
and
then deal with the priest. But if you do it that way, then you open yourself up for, oh no, the Kraken's out. We gotta whatever, now we have to save the whole ocean. We're going to have to fight a Kraken at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is fun. It's a side quest. It's a fun little side quest thing, or, could be part of the main quest, however you want to do it. But, it adds that kind of, it's definitely marked as deadly, but I think if it's handled kind of more like guards and then the boss, it might skew things a bit. If you find that it's too hard, the really truly easiest thing to do here would be to knock down the damage from the Kraken Priest, and that would balance it out if you're having trouble, if your party's having trouble with it.
Got it.
But yeah, that's my encounter.
That's pretty solid. I mean, we love a Kraken, so we love a
Everybody
Kraken
loves
Priest.
the Kraken, yeah.
Ton of fun. I like the time aspect of it. Obviously, that can change things big time. That's also an easy way to, like, let's say the party's not doing great, but unfortunately, you had already said out loud, the ritual's going to finish in 3 rounds, and then 3 rounds go by, the party's not doing great, but the ritual is complete. Well, then it's like, all right, maybe it doesn't summon a whole fucking Kraken or whatever, like, the result of the ritual is. Like, maybe it's slightly less than. It's like, actually, it's a different ritual. It's not summoning a Kraken. It just, the Kraken Priest is healed for 20 hit points. Or something, like...
Yeah. And I'm not thinking they'll, definitely not at level 3 or at the end of this. This would be a major encounter, or I'd call it a milestone encounter.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of this, I wouldn't expect them to go after the Kraken. I just think that would be like a sub storyline that like, okay, yeah, we're still doing our main quest. We're still got to get the big bad. Oh, but you get into the town, and the town's like, oh man, my ship got destroyed by the Kraken while we were out fishing or something like that. And it's just kind of one of these things. It's like, oh crap, Kraken's out. We're gonna have to deal with that eventually at some point.
Exactly. Yeah, all the ramifications of what unleashing a Kraken in the world would have.
Right.
Very exciting. Okay. Dope. Amazing. Okay, let's go on to level 8. So level 8, our players are much chunkier now. Their proficiency bonus has gone up. They potentially have access to level 4 spells. All kinds of crazy shenanigans. Do they have access to level? Yeah, no, they absolutely do have access to level 4 spells. Just they have multi-attack, like so many things. More hit points, more experience. Now we're talking. We're in the mid game. For mine, I decided to switch up from the first, like level 3. I wanted to play with the idea of having a bunch of monsters to attack, but most of them being very, very weak, with the exception of the Black Dragon. This one, I wanted to switch it up a little bit. I wanted there to be like one main big guy,
right,
to fight. And so what I went with is, in the Arctic tundra near the spine of the world, the party doesn't hear the mighty footfalls of ancient beasts that roam these lands. And unfortunately for them, this Brontosaurus is just a mount for a desperate and lost frost giant. What are they going to do? So it's a frost giant riding a Brontosaurus.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love everything about that sentence.
It's so fun. Yeah, so frost giants are beefy, right? Pretty low AC as far as everything goes. Same. I think Brontosaurus is actually, they both have the same AC at a 15.
Mm-hmm.
We're working with hefty hit points because these are two chunky boys. So the frost giant's got 138. Brontosaurus has got 121.
Wow.
We're also working with high strength, high constitution characters. Now, here's the big thing is the action economy as the DM is not on your side.
No.
You have the luck of, I mean, your side versus the other side. The other side, the thing is, 4 characters with 4 actions. Let's even in a pretend world where they're all melee characters or something, or martial. You're talking about 8 attacks, right? Obviously, that doesn't take into account you're gonna have spellcasters and all the other jazz, but like, it's at most 8 attacks, not including bonus action attacks and flurry of blows and all that other shit.
Right.
On your side as the DM, at most you're working at 3 attacks, but when your attacks hit, they are chunky.
Boy, howdy, do they hurt.
If the Brontosaurus hits you with its tail attack, which is a +8 to hit and a 20-foot reach, on average, that's 32 damage. That's 6d8. Its stomp attack is 5d8 and also has a 20-foot reach. Like, these are big guys. It's a gargantuan beast.
Right.
And a huge giant is riding it. The frost giant can make 2 great axe attacks or in lieu of making 2 axe attacks, you can also throw a rock with a range of 60 feet. The rock does on average 28 damage. The axe does on average 25 damage. So that's an average of 50 if you hit with both attacks. Like, it also has like 3 different
9
saving throw proficiencies. Like, these are chunky.
Yeah.
So
this is going to make your party quake in their boots.
Yeah.
Even if the action economy is not great.
Yeah, it's just
these
the
things
first
are
time you roll that
lot.
damage. Yeah, the first time you roll that damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that this like, from the monster standpoint, from the DM's perspective, that you're gonna have a hard time with is either if you have, like, by level 8, I guess if you have one character who's like min-max the fuck out of having their AC be insanely high, then you can have a little bit of a challenging time. But I mean, the great axe from the frost giant is a +9, so you roll a 10 and that's a 19.
Right.
So pretty freaking high. Pretty freaking high. You got cold damage immunity. The Brontosaurus is just a beefy boy. I just think that's fun. You could pick a million different dinosaurs. I just chose the Brontosaurus.
Yeah.
CR5.
The mount aspect of it. I love that it's a giant and a mount. Because
I thought that
just
would be
cool.
Really cool.
That's just cool.
Really, really fun. Yeah, I thought that would be really cool. So yeah, that's it. Pretty basic one.
Yeah.
Like I said, I wanted to include like I could have in theory like gone with a higher CR if I wanted it to just literally be one monster fighting them. But then I would need to maybe start considering like lair actions or legendary actions and that kind of stuff. And I didn't necessarily want to go down that route. So I was like, first I was thinking about maybe doing 2 giants. And then I was like, if I do that, 2 frost giants is like a little too beefy.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends. Like, if you're working with a party who are experienced players, have like made, maybe not even fully min-maxed, but like min-maxed a little bit, then I think, a solid level, a solid table of like people who play D&D regularly, I think would be fine against 2 frost giants. But if we're working with an average D&D group, I think 1 frost giant riding a Brontosaurus, fucking cool. You're in the Arctic. There's other environmental factors you could work in. There's thin ice on the lake.
Yeah.
There's, you know what I mean? Blizzarding blows, make constitution saving throws, not get exhaustion. There's all different kinds of other things you could throw at them. But
there's a world, I feel like if I was fighting this, I would do everything I could to get rid of the giant and then see if I could tame the Brontosaurus. Because if it's already a mount, then, 1 giant, we could fit 3 people up there.
Yeah, right.
Build
a small, like, have it be like those giant elephants in Lord of the Rings.
In Lord of the Rings, yeah.
That would be pretty sick. It would be pretty sick. The DM would hate that. Which means it's probably a great idea.
Yeah. I really, that's where I saw, oh man, Brontosaurus mount, let's go.
Hell yeah,
that's going to be my mount now.
Because I like this idea of, obviously the location Spine of the World is technically from Forgotten Realms and like Faerun and stuff like that. I just like the name. I've always liked the name of it. Spine of the World. Yeah. It's like a mountain range in the super far north in Faerun. But the idea that like dinosaurs are there, like they're just like dinosaurs, Ice Age happened. It stayed happening forever. And dinosaurs were like, we're cool with it. Actually, we love this.
Well, we're just going to hang here. That's fine.
Yeah, like actually we like it cold and this is good for us. And so they just live there. So, yeah.
It's great.
That's my level 8 one.
Okay. Well, my level 8 also involves giants, and it was
amazing.
Totally by accident. I hadn't even read your encounters until after I built them, and then you said something like, "Oh, it's giants," and also cults. I didn't realize it. This is totally unintentional, but I also picked a giant with some little buddies. The kind of plot reason I have for this fight is like there is the environment I chose was mountains, so that's kind of where we're at. So the town has ordered supplies, and the supplies aren't getting through the mountain pass for whatever reason. Party goes to investigate. It's a cloud giant and 2 Ettins that are kind of like working together to steal the supplies and like kill all the people trying to get supplies. And so the party has to kill them, like clear them out, get rid of them. So cloud giant, we've already kind of talked about giants. They're big, beef boys. 200 hit points, 14 AC. It does have multi-attack on its melee. On average, the damage is lower than the frost giant, but it also has a rock attack that does the same kind of deal, but we're dealing with D8s instead of D10s. Now, the cloud giant also is a spellcaster. It is innate spellcasting that it can do stuff with. Detect magic, fog cloud, light at will. It also has 3 a day of Featherfall, Fly, Misty Step, and Telekinesis. And then it can once a day do Control Weather or Gaseous Form. So, this is a fun little, like, you're not just going to be sitting there smashing stuff with the hammer with this guy. That's what the Ettins are for. The Ettins are just, they're basically 2-headed kind of troll goblin, or not troll goblin, like troll giant things. They're large creatures. They are technically classified as giants. 12 AC, 85 hit points, a little bit less than the cloud giant. It has 2 heads though, so it's got advantage on perception checks and on saving throws against being blinded, charmed, deafened, frightened, stunned, on getting whatever, knocked unconscious for whatever reason. It's got advantage on all of that stuff, so it's going to be kind of hard to take out of the fight if you don't want it to be in the fight. Like I said, multi-attack, it's got 2 hits per turn. That's your big smashy boy. And then the cloud giant, honestly, if the fight starts not going its way, or if the party, for whatever reason, is not doing so hot, you could technically, this cloud giant can use Gaseous Form or Misty Step, Fly. It's got a million ways to get out of this encounter. To basically, you can just pull him from the encounter at any point. But yeah, it's I like the fact that it's got, some magic. So you're still doing a little bit of magic, a little bit of
that is nice. Melee. Yeah, giving you some more options and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't have any like damaging magic, but it does, like, Misty Step is going to be pretty cool to use in that fight. It does have telekinesis. Telekinesis is an interesting one.
Yeah,
because
it's a dangerous one if you're anywhere near the edge.
Right.
And it says the party's making it over the mountain.
Mm-hmm. So is this in a valley or is this on a cliff?
Yeah, that's brutal. That's fun. I like the idea too. You said that the Ettins were the ones who would kind of attack first. Is that what you said?
Yeah, well, they're the meat shields. They don't have any spellcasting or anything like that. They don't even have any ranged attacks, so they're just gonna stomp up and start swinging.
Yeah, gives the cloud giant a little buffer.
Mm-hmm.
That
real big, so they can
fun.
Clog up a path so that the party can't get past them, and then the cloud giant can just kind of sit back and fling rocks. Honestly, it's got a plus 12 to hit everything.
Oof.
But the damage is a little lower.
Yeah, that's pretty gnarly. And it also, that idea of having the 2 sort of quote unquote meat shields as the spellcaster, or the other one can kind of do some stuff in the background, have a little bit of time before getting, surrounded, probably.
Right.
Plays right into my next one for level 13. So we're at level 13. We're chunky. We're talking like most characters might have 100+ hit points. ACs are just getting higher. Proficiency bonus, spell save DCs, everything is getting pretty chunky at this point. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
13, you're like a little bit past the mid game. If you're doing like one of those insanely long campaigns where you're trying to hit level 20. So things are progressing. Your party is, you know what I mean, like absolute heroes at this point.
Right.
And so I decided to play on, I mean, if you go just by the stats and by the CR calculators, this is considered a deadly encounter. However, part of what I think makes this particularly deadly is you need a ton of strategy going into this. This is the DM planning, kind of using a little bit of metagaming in a sense, because that actually does make sense for what this monster can do. And so it kind of the setup of the combat is part of what makes this so deadly and, you know, potentially deadly.
Right.
So the idea is the party has come under the watchful eye of the BBEG. They've been thwarting his plan, or excuse me, their plan. Who knows what the BBEG is like, but the BBEG kind of like seeing all of this, but the party's not maybe, you know, high enough level to take on the BBEG personally. So you don't necessarily want the big bad evil guy to come in and be like, all right, level 9 spells, fuck you guys. But how does the BBEG, you know, deal with this? They're not just going to stand by and let it happen. Let the party get powerful and like more levels and stuff and get up to their level. So what happens is the BBEG hires an assassin from Limbo, an interplanar killer, tracks the party down, waits until their guard is down at camp during a long rest, but specifically before they've finished their long rest. So they've had a short rest. That means depending on the classes, this is one of those ones where it really does depend on like the classes that they are too, and like how exhausted they are from a resource standpoint. You know,
right?
What did they do in the previous day? Did they have a bunch of combats and use all of their spell slots, or did they just use a couple spell slots? Do you have a warlock and a fighter in the group where short rest is going to get you so much back, or do you not have that? You know what I mean? Like that can change some things. Because what's going to happen is you're going to be rudely awakened by 2 onkegs, these large insectoid, acid-spitting monstrosities.
Looks like a lurker from StarCraft.
It's got StarCraft vibes big time. They have an AC of 14, 39 hit points, can burrow pretty slowly, but can burrow, and 30-foot speed. Just 1 attack. But they also have an acid spray that has a recharge of 6, 30-foot long, 5 feet wide, 3d6 acid damage. Pretty powerful bite attacks that can do a lot of things, and also grapple and stuff like that. 2 of these guys. Okay. They're attacking the party. Now, level 13, that's nothing. That's not a big deal. It's just an inconvenience. But while that's happening, now you have your Ultraloth, your fiend, this assassin, spellcaster extraordinaire, built-in teleporting, innate spellcasting, magic resistance, magic weapons, a ton of damage resistances and immunities. We're working with an AC of 19 and 153 hit points. So it's not like the beefiest thing. The AC is pretty high for a monster, but like hit point wise, considering this is going to be our main guy, not the craziest, but this is a CR 13 monster. And it's because we are resistant to cold, fire, and lightning, as well as physical non-magical damage. Also immune to acid and poison, so can be right in the way of those onkegs spitting up acid. They're also immune to being charmed, frightened, or poisoned. They have true sight out to 120 feet, telepathy out to 120 feet. Their spell save DC is a 17, which is pretty high. And they have a lot of things that are going to fuck up the party from a surprise standpoint. Not only do they have alter self, so they can make themselves look like anybody, and as it was pointed out to me in our game very recently, alter self isn't an illusion spell, it's a transmutation spell, so it's not like you can necessarily like touch them and feel different type of skin or something like that, whatever. They also have clairvoyance, an incredible spell for an assassin who's tracking down the party. Detect thoughts, dispel magic, darkness, detect magic, invisibility, and suggestion.
Wow.
3 times a day, they can cast Dimension Door, fear, or wall of fire. And 1 time a day, they can cast Firestorm, which is a big 7th level spell.
Yeah.
10 10-foot cubes. So potentially, like, what is that? 100 cubic feet. 7d10 fire damage on a failed save.
That's insanity.
And then it gets better because there's another spell that they can cast 1 time a day, and that's Mass Suggestion.
Huh.
So, I mean, the amount of things you can use this on. It says Mass Suggestion works on up to 12 creatures of your choice. You could... Hey, there's a small encampment of other travelers who are coming through this forest. The Ultraloth got there first. The Mass Suggestion is the next people who come into the camp are enemies. Kill them.
Yeah.
And now the party is fighting completely innocent people who have been brainwashed, which is kind of fucked up, let's be honest. But also, that's what we're dealing with sometimes, baby.
Yeah.
As long as it's not going across boundaries.
Right.
Yeah, as long as people don't have, like, I know some people do have, like, mind control boundaries because it can be super fucked up depending on what you're forcing people to do. But if they're cool with it, then that's a crazy way to start off combat. Like, and then the onkegs pop out. Like, what? Like, it's just so many things. You could also mass suggest them to do a million other things. Like, show this adventuring party's going to come in, show them an incredible time, and separate them from their armor and their weapons.
Yeah.
So then the party comes in, everyone's being really nice to them. It's kind of like the Lotus Eaters where they're like, "Oh, we have hot springs. Like, please take off all your armor so you can go into the hot springs." And they're just being so nice and like schmoozed. And then just like, "Oh, joke's on you, Firestorm." Joke's on you, Firestorm. Immediate Firestorm. Not to mention all the amazing spell casting and stuff like that. The Ultraloth also has a Hypnotic Gaze ability. If it decides to use its multi-attack, it gets to use Hypnotic Gaze and then make 3 melee attacks with a longsword. Now, its longsword isn't anything too crazy. +8 to hit. It just does a D8 or a D10, depending on if it's one-handed or two-handed. So just normal shit. But it is magical. Right. So it'll bypass that kind of stuff. But the Hypnotic Gaze, 30-foot range, targets a creature as long as they can see each other. It's a DC 17 wisdom save, and that creature is charmed. Now, and if the charm goes through, it says right here, the charmed target is stunned.
Oh, boy.
And let me double check. No chance to redo that saving throw. You're just stunned.
Until the end of its next turn.
Until the end of your next turn. That is correct. I missed that part.
It's not, it's not forever stunned. You're just stunned until the end of its next turn. Yeah.
But yeah,
that would be awful. That would be absolutely terrible.
Actually awful. It also has an action to teleport up to 60 feet away. So if you needed to make a quick escape or something, you could do that. But you also have Dimension Door 3 times a day. So you can teleport much further than that. So, but this teleport ability, like the action one, that's not a spell. So it can't be counterspelled or something, whereas Dimension Door could be.
Right.
So the opportunities, I just think it's so cool. The artwork is really crazy. It looks like just it looks like Martian Manhunter a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
From DC, like kind of, I mean, he has a sword on, but kind of that idea of like the sort of stereotypical looking fucking alien, but then like with a cloak on, like a cape and stuff like that.
Big ass sword, yeah.
Big ass scimitar, long sword. So yeah, I mean, Ultraloths, if you go by like the lore and stuff like that, then they are often hired to fight in the Blood War. They have a reputation of cruelty, and they command their minions to fight while the Ultraloths stay removed from combat. So exactly the idea of just like having a bunch of these onkegs and sending them forth to start the combat. All the parties looking towards that, and then here comes the Ultraloth sneaking behind, whispers into one of the party members' ears who's in the back line compared to the onkegs, but for the Ultraloth is now the front line, and just casts suggestion and just says, "Go walk a mile in that direction." Do you know what I mean? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
To just be able to do that. Oh, man. Now, one thing that obviously comes to mind, suggestion, mass suggestion, the Hypnotic Gaze, they're all charm effects. If you have a party of half-elves, instantly this is less deadly. Because the party is just so much more likely to not ever get charmed. But man, so many little spells that they can cast at will that are going to help with the surprise attack that could make this so deadly. Like, oh, the RP opportunities here too, especially with like detect thoughts and alter self. You could have the Ultraloth infiltrate the fucking party for weeks.
Right.
With alter self and detect thoughts and learn a ton of information and bring it back to a villain. Clairvoyance at will. That's insane. Oh, it's so cool, dude.
That's a fun monster. That's a real fun monster.
I like this one. I think there's a lot of different directions you could take it in with the Ultraloth. You could also like have the instead of on kegs, you could go for something that's a little bit like, smarter. You know what I mean? Like you could use 2 spine devils. Like on kegs are kind of like, I mean, they're monstrosities. Their intelligence is low as shit. So you could pick different minions. And that would change things up or something. You could go slightly. The tricky part about this with having minions, the Ultraloth being a CR 13 means that depending on the number of minions I'm trying to get, if I go too low level, then you run into the problem of having a bunch of monsters, but they only have like a +2, +3, +4 to hit. They're never hitting. Even with on keg, you're almost running into that. So yeah, it gets tricky, but yeah. That's what I got for level 13.
That's a fun encounter.
It's one of those ones where like I could see a lot of level 13 parties if you just had them meet in the alleyway and just roll initiative straight up. The party could roll over this fight easy.
Right.
It depends a little bit on the surprise, the setup.
Right.
And you could do it. You could stretch it out and have there be like tiny little clues that somebody is tracking you guys. That you are being followed. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Like different. And I mean, that's honestly, this is a whole session right here dealing with this thing. This is a whole session.
Yeah.
Just this one little encounter. Like the whole session is the setup for this encounter.
Yeah. It could be a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. But let's hear what you got. Level 13.
Okay. Yeah.
Pretty high level.
My writing has gotten lazier and lazier. For this one, we're going classic dungeon crawl / resource drain. Okay. Basically, is the plan here. So you've got some kind of a ancient mummy tomb thing, and going in trying to get some treasure for whatever reason, because it's treasure. And you get into the main room. Trigger a trap, start taking loot, something like that. And the sarcophagus, like the main sarcophagus, falls over open, and out comes a mummy lord. And then he does a little screech, and more bad guys come out. So,
classic.
Yeah, this is just
your. You
hate to see it, but yeah. This it happens all the time in Faerun. It's wild. So the encounter itself is going to be the mummy lord. I have it as 3 mummies and 5 zombies. Now, the mummies and the zombies are not going to be doing a whole ton. The zombies especially are basically just cannon fodder because they've got a +3 to hit. Even if they do hit, they're not doing a ton of damage. They're literally just there as concentration breakers and just bodies to put in the way. So I put a bunch of them. Like I think I have 5 of them in this encounter. And then I also do 3 mummies, which are CR3, still nothing crazy for a level 13 party, but they do have some frightened like saving throw stuff that they can do as actions rather than just melee. Each one does a dreadful glare, which is a DC 11 wisdom saving throw. I'd probably bump that up to a 13 or a 14. Just for the sake of the party is stronger. So a DC 11, they're going to win that a lot. I would put this at a 13 or 14 just to kind of make it a little bit more fair. And then if they fail it, because all it is they get frightened until the end of the mummy's next turn. If it fails the saving throw by 5 or more, though, it becomes paralyzed until the end of the zombie's next turn.
Gnarly.
So definitely you're never triggering that paralyzed thing at an 11 for a level 13 party for the most part. 13 or 14, it might do it once or twice. So I got 3 of them in the fight. They also have a rotting fist attack That is a DC 12 con save on a hit, or they get cursed with Mummy Rot, which is basically Chilling Touch, I think it is, that doesn't allow you to get health back. So it can't regain hit points, and its hit point maximum decreases by 10 for every 24 hours that elapse until the curse is gone. If the curse reduces a target's hit point maximum to 0, the target dies and its body returns to dust. The curse lasts until it's removed by remove curse or some other like greater resto or something like that.
Yeah.
So kind of terrifying, but it's a DC 12 Constitution save. It's not the end of the world, but yeah. So once it's cursed, it's got to get the party member's got to get a remove curse thing. And again, these guys are more just fodder. They've only got a +5 to hit. Nothing really crazy. The big thing is the dreadful glare from them. And then finally, we have the big bad. This is the Mummy Lord. He's the one in charge of the whole goddamn place. He is a spellcaster. He's got legendary actions. He's got multi-attack. He does a bunch of stuff. Yeah,
and those are some chunky spells I'm seeing here.
Yeah. And he's got some pretty chunky spells. He's got 6th level Harm, Insect Plague Contagion. He's got Guardian of Faith, Animate Dead, Spiritual Weapon, Hold Person, Command. A bunch of crazy spells. It does have spell slots, so this is basically a actual caster monster as opposed to innate spellcasting. It actually is a spellcaster that has slots that it can use, which theoretically means that you could upcast a bunch of this stuff. Like, you've got 6th level Harm, or you could 6th level Spiritual Weapon and get a stronger Spiritual Weapon with this.
Amazing.
It does have multi-attack with a Dreadful Glare. This is a DC 16 Wisdom save, or the same situation. It becomes frightened until the end of the mummy's next turn, or if it fails by 5 or more, then it's paralyzed until the end of the Mummy Lord's next turn. If a target succeeds on the saving throw for that, it's immune to Dreadful Glare from all the mummies for the next 24 hours. It's also got this Rotting Fist attack that does the same Mummy Rot curse. It's exactly, other than it's a DC 16 instead of a DC 12 Constitution saving throw if it hits with the melee attack. Also, it's got some fun legendary actions. Blinding Dust, which is a DC 16 con save, or it's blinded until the end of that creature's next turn. Blasphemous Word. Each non-undead creature within 10 feet of the mummy that can hear it must succeed DC 16 saving throw, or be stunned until the end of the mummy's next turn. That's a pretty beefy thing. Channel negative energy. Yeah, it's got a lot of crazy stuff that it can do. The DCs are reasonable. This could be a very tricky fight. These zombies and stuff are not going to be doing a whole lot until you manage to stun one of the party members, and then they're probably going to start chipping away, which is kind of why they're there. Right. But yeah, I mean, this is another crazy. This is definitely build in the D&D Beyond encounter calculator. This is a deadly encounter. It's not too bad because a lot of the action economy stuff is taken up by stuff that is not going to be hitting a lot.
Mm-hmm. I get what you mean.
It's billed as a crazy deadly encounter, but like a lot of this stuff, the party's level 13, they're not going to be hitting with a lot. And also they don't have, like, the zombies have 15 hit points. That's like one good fireball. Not to mention if the party has a cleric and you can do turn undead, that's going to completely change stuff. This is one that's going to come down to party comp. But I think it's hard, but definitely doable, eminently doable by a decent level 13. Like an average level 13 party could probably take this.
Yeah, I could see that. This seems like one, because of all of the like legendary actions, lair actions, that some of these spells like fucking Harm and Insect Plague Contagion, a lot of the saving throws against Rotting Fist and Dreadful Glare and shit.
Mm-hmm.
All I can think about is dice rolls. Just how this encounter could go from being like easy to absolutely unwinnable based on dice rolls. Like, how is your luck that day? But that's the way with a lot of fights. But just like
this one is very
saving throws
reliant on saving throws. Yeah, and this Rotting Fist curse is pretty bad. I mean, it says target can't regain hit points if it's cursed with this mummy rot. So that means no healing spells, no healing potions. You cannot get any hit points back.
Yeah. Do you have remove curse in this fight?
Right.
Like, do you have it prepared, or do you have it? So yeah, some of the setup for this, like if you know you're going into this dungeon crawl kind of thing, do you know to prepare that spell? Have you heard legend of mummies and curses and all of that kind of stuff? Because just having remove curse prepared, I mean, it's a 3rd level spell. So if people you have 4 party members, if everybody gets fucking cursed, that's 4 3rd level spells or higher if you upcast. But like, oof. I mean, it's dope. It's incredible.
Yeah,
I've been wanting to use mummies and mummy lords and do like a more deserty themed setting for a while. So I like this.
Yeah. And like I said, this is just your standard, what I would consider your standard dungeon crawl. So the party's getting to this fight, hopefully not at full strength. But honestly, and like that's going to make it tough. If they're coming at it full strength, it's still a hard fight. Like this is still a very difficult fight.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like I said, with, a good party comp, a good number of magical items, maybe you give them something that, you could even have the party, if they were super into trying to figure out about this curse, you could give them like a ward against the mummy curse. Like I would do that. And then that way that removes one of the most dangerous parts of this fight, which is that mummy rot. Give them some kind of a talisman or something that makes it not take a hold even if you fail.
Yeah.
Or basically this would be fun, like a legendary resistance against this particular spell. Like each of them has like 1 or 2 uses that are okay. You failed, okay, but you can choose to succeed, and that burns one of the charges.
I see what you mean.
That way, if they keep getting hit by it, eventually it's going to break through. That would make it scary, but also not, your party's not going to be dealing with this curse, because this curse sucks.
This curse sucks, dude.
This curse sucks, dude.
I like it, dude. That's a ton of fun.
Yeah, this would be a really fun encounter, I think. Because like I said, these zombies and the mummies not going to be doing a whole lot until Big Boy comes in and starts paralyzing some people.
Yeah. Wow. A lot of legendary action options.
A lot of them.
I don't see that a lot. Usually there's 3.
Right.
There's like 2 that are just an action, and then like 1 that costs 2 or 3. Or sometimes it's like 1, 2, then 3. But this one's got 5 options. 3 of them cost 2 actions each. Channel negative energy, blasphemous word, whirlwind of sand. Whoa, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that's always so interesting, the reason I'm very nervous about the new monster manual is because I don't know this to be a fact. I haven't seen it, so this is 100% speculation. I'm nervous that they're going to change all of the monsters to have spellcasting that is more closely related to the like once a day, 3 times a day kind of stuff.
Right.
Whereas I want some monsters to have spellcasting like the Mummy Lord has, because using Mummy Lord as an example, 2nd level, 3 slots. One of those spells is Hold Person. Hold Person you can upcast. And the Mummy Lord makes it very easy. You could upcast it at 5th level and hold a bunch of people.
Right.
But if it's once a day, 3 times a day, that kind of stuff, there is no upcasting because you don't have like quote unquote spell slots.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's annoying. You know what I mean? Of being like, I have Cure Wounds, but it's fucking always 1st level, so it's not doing a ton. So I'm nervous about that. Hopefully that's not the case, and they keep some monsters with like just normal spell casting. But only time will tell. Only time will tell. I think that book is very, very recently out or coming out very soon. I don't know what the embargo kind of stuff about when people are allowed to talk about it. Who knows? There's so much crazy stuff, but let us know what help or advice you want to know in regards of balancing encounters and monster stats and creating combat ideas, whatever. Let us know. You know, maybe we'll do maybe we can do a future episode about the other things to add to combat to make them more dynamic, like not necessarily the monster stat blocks, but like the environmental factors, the puzzles, the innocents that are in the battle or whatever it may be, all the different ideas.
Right.
Plus, we could do another episode of this, but other level breakdowns.
Yeah.
Level 15, level 18, level 20.
Ooh.
I can't imagine doing level 20. I'm so scared.
No.
I'm so scared. I'm so scared. But okay. Can I tell you that... How do I phrase this? So I took a Fresca out of the fridge, and when I cracked it open, Taylor, I don't even want to exaggerate, I went blind for 5 minutes. It was so delicious.
Absolutely.
Because there's nothing like the refreshing grapefruit flavor of
that's all we can get into this time. You can join us on TikTok and Instagram at Soyouwannabeadm, or you can ask us a question at soyouwannabeadm@gmail.com. If you like the episode, don't forget to give us 5 stars and a review wherever you found us, and check out the Patreon and the Twitch with the link in the bio, or in the description, or wherever it is. There's a link somewhere. It has stuff in it. And join us next time for more Dungeon Master tips and tricks.
Bye.
See you.
And now I have the honor of giving a shout out to the members of our Patreon gang. Nub Muffins, may Paylor's light shine upon you. And then there's Lee, Tappy, and Molly. We appreciate each and every one of you. Tune in next time for more tips and tricks from So You Wanna Be a DM.